What would you do if the person who once held your heart suddenly reappeared in your life, broken and desperate? Raphael Bennett, a self-made millionaire with a past he'd rather forget, is about to face that very question. On a cold evening in Chicago, a chance encounter at a train station will change his life forever. But this isn't just a story of love rekindled. It's a tale of danger, secrets, and the lengths one man will go to protect the woman he never stopped caring for. Stay with me, because this is only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's dive into the story. The wind howled through the streets of Chicago, carrying with it the biting chill of early winter. Raphael Bennett adjusted his coat collar as he stepped out of his sleek black car, the city's skyline towering above him like a fortress of steel and glass. He had just wrapped up another grueling day at the office, his mind still buzzing with numbers and contracts. But as he walked toward the train station, something or someone caught his eye. There, huddled on a bench near the entrance, was a woman. Her hair was tangled, her clothes worn and too thin for the weather. Beside her sat a little girl, no older than 5, clutching a tattered doll. The sight was like a punch to Raphael's gut. He froze, his breath catching in his throat. "Marina?" he whispered, more to himself than to her. The woman's head snapped up, her eyes wide with recognition and fear. "Raphael." Her voice was barely audible over the noise of the passing trains. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the years melting away. Marina Carter. The name alone brought back a flood of memories. She had been his first love, the girl he'd admired from afar in high school, the one who'd always been just out of reach. But the woman before him now was a shadow of the vibrant girl he remembered. What are you doing here?" Marina asked, her voice trembling. She pulled the little girl closer, as if shielding her from the world. Raphael took a cautious step forward. "I could ask you the same thing. Marina, what happened to you?" She looked away, her cheeks flushing with shame. "It's a long story. You shouldn't be here, Raphael. You shouldn't see me like this." The little girl, sensing her mother's distress, looked up at Raphael with curious eyes. "Mommy, who's that man?" Marina hesitated, her grip tightening on her daughter's hand. "This is an old friend, Sophia." Raphael's heart ached at the sight. He crouched down to Sophia's level, offering her a gentle smile. "Hi, Sophia. My name's Raphael. It's nice to meet you." The girl studied him for a moment before giving a shy smile. "Hi." Raphael straightened up, his mind racing. He couldn't just leave them here, not like this. "Marina, let me help you. You and Sophia shouldn't be out here in the cold." She shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "No, Raphael, you don't owe me anything. Don't owe me. I'm fine." "You're not fine," he said firmly. "Look at you. Look at her. Please let me help." Marina hesitated, her gaze flickering between Raphael and Sophia. Finally she nodded, her shoulders slumping in defeat. "Okay, but just for tonight." Raphael helped them to his car, his mind spinning with questions. What had happened to Marina? Who was Sophia's father, and why did she look so afraid? As they drove through the city, Marina stared out the window, her silence heavy with unspoken words. Sophia, exhausted, fell asleep in her mother's arms. Raphael glanced at them in the rear-view mirror, his heart breaking for the woman he once loved, and the child who deserved so much more. When they arrived at his penthouse, Marina hesitated at the door. "Raphael, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," he said softly. "Just come inside. You're safe here." As Marina stepped into the warmth of his home, Raphael couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Something dark lurked in Marina's past, something she wasn't ready to share. And as much as he wanted to help her, he knew that unraveling her secrets would come at a cost. But for now, all that mattered was keeping her and Sophia safe. The rest could wait, or so he thought. The night was quiet, the city lights casting a soft glow through the windows. Marina sat on the edge of the bed watching Sophia sleep. Raphael stood in the doorway, his presence a silent reassurance. "Thank you," Marina whispered, her voice barely audible. For everything. Raphael nodded, his expression serious. We'll figure this out, Marina. Whatever it is, you're not alone anymore. But as he turned to leave, Marina's voice stopped him. Raphael, there's something you should know. He turned back, his heart pounding. What is it? She hesitated, her eyes filled with fear. He's still out there, and he's not going to let us go. Raphael's blood ran cold. Who? Marina's voice broke as she whispered the name. My ex-husband, and he's dangerous. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash chaos. Raphael knew then that this wasn't just about helping an old friend. This was about survival, and he was ready to fight. What will Raphael do next? Who is Marina's ex-husband, and why is he so dangerous? Stay tuned, because the story is just getting started. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Raphael's penthouse, casting a golden glow over the spacious living room. Marina sat on the couch, her hands wrapped tightly around a steaming mug of coffee. Sophia was still asleep in the guest room, her soft breathing a comforting sound in the otherwise silent apartment. Raphael stood by the window, his arms crossed as he stared out at the city below. The tension in the room was palpable, a heavy weight that neither of them seemed ready to address. Marina, Raphael began, his voice gentle but firm. You need to tell me what's going on. Who is your ex-husband, and why are you so afraid of him? Marina's hands trembled as she set the mug down on the coffee table. She took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the floor. His name is Victor, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Victor Grayson, he's not a good man. Raphael turned to face her, his expression serious. What did he do to you? She hesitated, her fingers twisting the edge of her sweater. It started small at first. He was charming, you know? The kind of man who could make you feel like the most important person in the world. But after we got married, he changed. He became controlling, jealous. He didn't like me talking to anyone, not even my own family. And then he started hitting me. Raphael's jaw tightened, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. Why didn't you leave him? I tried, Marina said, her voice breaking. I tried so many times, but every time I did, he'd find me. He'd threaten me, threaten Sophia. He said if I ever left him for good, he'd make sure I never saw her again. Raphael's heart ached for her, but his mind was already racing. How did you get away this time? Marina wiped a tear from her cheek. I waited until he was out of town on business. I packed what little we had and ran. We've been moving from place to place ever since, trying to stay one step ahead of him. But I know he's looking for us. And when he finds us... She didn't need to finish the sentence. Raphael could see the fear in her eyes, the way her body tensed at the mere thought of Victor. He walked over to the couch and sat down beside her, his voice steady. You're safe here, Marina. I won't let him hurt you or Sophia. She looked at him, her eyes filled with doubt. You don't know what he's capable of, Raphael. He's dangerous. He has connections, money, power. If he finds out we're here, then we'll deal with it, Raphael said firmly. But you can't keep running forever. You need to face him, and you need to do it on your terms. Marina shook her head, her voice trembling. I can't risk it, not with Aunt Risk It, not. Sophia! Raphael reached out and took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. You're not alone anymore, Marina. I'm here. And I'm not going to let anything happen to you or Sophia. For a moment, Marina just stared at him, her eyes searching his face as if trying to find some hidden truth. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay, but promise me one thing. Anything, Raphael said without hesitation. If things go wrong, if Victor finds us, promise me you'll protect Sophia, no matter what. Raphael's heart clenched at the desperation in her voice. He squeezed her hand gently. I promise. The sound of footsteps interrupted them, and they both turned to see Sophia standing in the doorway, rubbing her eyes sleepily. Mommy, where are we? Marina forced a smile, quickly wiping away her tears. We're at a friend's house, sweetheart. Remember Mr. Raphael? Sophia nodded, her eyes lighting up as she ran. Over to him. "Hi, Mr. Raphael." Raphael couldn't help but smile as he scooped her up into his arms. "Good morning, Sophia. Did you sleep well?" "Uh-huh," she said, yawning. "Can we have pancakes?" Raphael chuckled, his heart warming at the innocence in her voice. "Of course we can. How about we make some together?" As they headed to the kitchen, Marina watched them with a mixture of gratitude and fear. She wanted to believe that Raphael could keep them safe, but the shadow of Victor loomed large in her mind. She knew it was only a matter of time before he found them, and when he did, there would be no escape. Later that afternoon, Raphael made a phone call to an old friend, a private investigator named Jack Thompson. "Jack, I need your help," he said as soon as the man answered. "What's going on, Raphael?" Jack asked, his voice tinged with concern. "I need you to look into someone for me. His name is Victor Grayson. I need to know everything about him, where he is, what he's doing, and how much of a threat he really is." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Victor Grayson, as in the real estate mogul?" "That's the one," Raphael confirmed. Jack whistled low. "That's not going to be easy, Raphael. The guy's got a lot of power, and he's not exactly known for playing nice." "I don't care how hard it is," Raphael said, his voice firm. "I need to know what we're up against." "All right," Jack said finally. "I'll see what I can dig up. But be careful, Raphael. If Victor's as dangerous as you say, you're playing with fire." Raphael hung up the phone, his mind racing. He knew Jack was right. Victor was a formidable opponent, but he also knew he couldn't back down, not when Marina and Sophia's lives were at stake. As he walked back into the living room, he found Marina sitting on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself as if trying to ward off the cold. "Raphael," she said softly, "there's something else you should know." He sat down beside her, his expression serious. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with fear. "Victor, he's not just dangerous. He's obsessed. He thinks Sophia is his, and he'll do whatever it takes to get her back." Raphael's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" Marina's voice trembled as she spoke. "I'm saying that if Victor finds us, he won't stop until he has her, and he'll kill anyone who gets in his way." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Raphael knew then that this wasn't just a fight to protect Marina and Sophia. It was a fight for their very survival, and he was ready to do whatever it took to win. What will Raphael do next? How far will Victor go to get what he wants? Stay tuned, because the stakes are about to get even higher. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The days that followed were a blur of tension and preparation. Raphael had transformed his penthouse into a fortress, installing state-of-the-art security systems and hiring a discreet security team to keep watch over Marina and Sophia. He knew it was only a matter of time before Victor made his move, and he wasn't about to take any chances. Marina, however, was restless. She paced the apartment like a caged animal, her eyes constantly darting to the windows as if expecting Victor to appear at any moment. Sophia, oblivious to the danger, spent her days playing with the toys Raphael had bought her, her laughter a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere that hung over the apartment. "Raphael," Marina said one evening as they sat in the living room, "I can't keep living like this. I feel like I'm suffocating." Raphael looked up from his laptop, his expression sympathetic but firm. "I know it's hard, Marina, but until we know more about Victor's movements, this is the safest place for you and Sophia." She shook her head, her frustration evident. "You don't understand. Victor doesn't just want Sophia. He wants to destroy me. He's not going to stop until he's taken everything from me." Raphael closed his laptop and set it aside, his full attention on her. "Then we'll make sure he doesn't get the chance. I've got people looking into him, Marina. We'll find a way to stop him." Before she could respond, Raphael's phone buzzed on the coffee table. He picked it up, his heart skipping a beat, when he saw Jack's name on the screen. "Jack, what do you have for me?" "It's not good, Raphael," Jack said, his voice grim. Victor's been busy. He's got a network of contacts all over the city and he's been asking questions. Someone's been feeding him information. Raphael's stomach churned. What? Kind of information? Everything. Your name, your address, your connection to Marina. He knows you're involved and he's not happy about it. Raphael's mind raced. If Victor knew where they were, it was only a matter of time before he showed up. What else? There's more, Jack said, his tone darkening. Victor's been digging into your past, Raphael. He's found out about your father, about the business. He's using it to build a case against you. Raphael's blood ran cold. His father's shady dealings were a secret he'd buried years ago, a part of his life he'd worked hard to leave behind. If Victor was bringing that up, it meant he was playing dirty. What do you suggest? Raphael asked, his voice tight. Lay low, Jack advised. Don't give him any more ammunition. And whatever you do, don't let him get close to Marina or the kid. Raphael hung up the phone, his mind spinning. He turned to Marina, who was watching him with wide, fearful eyes. What is it? What did he say? Victor knows we're here, Raphael said, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. And he's coming for us. Marina's face paled, her hands trembling as she clutched the edge of the couch. What are we going to do? Raphael stood, his expression resolute. We're going to fight back, but first we need to get you and Sophia out of here. No, Marina said, her voice firm. I'm not running anymore. I'm done letting him control my life. Raphael hesitated, torn between his desire to protect her and his respect for her strength. Marina, this isn't about control. It's about keeping you and Sophia safe. And we will be, she said, her eyes blazing with determination. But not by hiding. If Victor wants a fight, then we'll give him one. Raphael studied her for a moment, seeing the fire in her, eyes that he'd always admired. All right, he said finally, but we do this my way. No risks, no chances. Understood? Marina nodded, her resolve unwavering. Understood. That night, Raphael sat in his office, poring over the information Jack had sent him. Victor's network was extensive, his reach far greater than Raphael had anticipated. But there was one name that kept popping up, a man named Marcus Cole, one of Victor's most trusted associates. If they could get to Marcus, they might be able to find a weakness in Victor's armor. Raphael picked up his phone and dialed Jack's number. I need you to find Marcus Cole. He's the key to taking Victor down. Marcus Cole, Jack repeated, sounding surprised. That's not going to be easy. The guy's a ghost. Then make him visible, Raphael said, his voice hard. We don't have time to waste. As he hung up the phone, Raphael couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Victor was closing in, and every second they spent waiting was a second closer to disaster. The next morning, Marina woke to the sound of Sophia's laughter echoing through the apartment. She followed the sound to the kitchen, where Raphael was flipping pancakes while Sophia sat on the counter giggling as he pretended to drop one on the floor. Careful, Mr. Raphael! Sophia squealed, her eyes sparkling with delight. Marina leaned against the doorway, a small smile tugging at her lips. Despite the danger, there was a sense of peace in this moment, a reminder of what they were fighting for. But as she watched Raphael with Sophia, a thought occurred to her, one that sent a chill down her spine. What if Victor wasn't just after Sophia? What if he was after Raphael, too? Raphael, she said, her voice soft but urgent. We need to talk. He turned to her, his smile fading as he saw the seriousness in her eyes. What is it? What if Victor's not just coming for me and Sophia? She asked, her voice trembling. What if he's coming for you too? Raphael's expression darkened, but he didn't respond. Instead, he set the spatula down and walked over to her, his voice low and steady. Let him try. What will Victor do next? How far will he go to get what he wants? And can Raphael and Marina outsmart him before it's too late? Stay tuned, because the danger is only getting closer. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The tension in the penthouse was thick enough to cut with a knife. Raphael had spent the entire morning on the phone, coordinating with Jack and his security team. Marina sat on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself as she watched Sophia play with a set of building blocks on the floor. The little girl's laughter was a stark contrast to the heavy atmosphere, a reminder of the innocence they were fighting to protect. "Raphael," Marina said suddenly, her voice breaking the silence. "What if we're wrong? What if Victor doesn't come after us? What if he's moved on?" Raphael turned to her, his expression grim. "We can't afford to take that chance. Victor's not the type to let go. He's out there, Marina, and he's coming." Before she could respond, the sound of the intercom buzzed through the apartment. Raphael's head snapped toward the door, his body tense. He walked over to the panel and pressed the button. "Yes? Mr. Bennett? It's Carl from security. We've got a situation downstairs." Raphael's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of situation?" "There's a man here asking for you. He says his name is Marcus Cole." Raphael's eyes widened. Marcus Cole. The name sent a chill down his spine. He exchanged a quick glance with Marina, who had risen to her feet, her face pale. "Keep him there," Raphael said into the intercom. "I'll be down in a minute." He turned to Marina, his voice low and urgent. "Stay here, lock the door behind me and don't let anyone in unless it's me." Marina nodded, her hands trembling as she reached for Sophia. "Be careful, Raphael." He gave her a reassuring smile, though his eyes were filled with worry. "I will." The elevator ride down to the lobby felt like an eternity. Raphael's mind raced as he tried to piece together why Marcus Cole would show up. Unannounced. Was this a trap, or was Marcus here to deliver a message from Victor? When the doors opened, Raphael stepped out into the lobby, his eyes immediately locking onto the man standing by the security desk. Marcus Cole was tall and broad-shouldered, with a face that looked like it had seen in too many fights. His cold, calculating eyes met Raphael's, and for a moment neither man spoke. "Mr. Bennett," Marcus said finally, his voice smooth but laced with menace. "I've heard a lot about you." "What do you want, Cole?" Raphael asked, his tone sharp. Marcus smirked, his gaze flickering toward the security guards who were watching the exchange closely. "I think we should talk in private, don't you?" Raphael hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to be cautious, but he knew this might be his only chance to get information about Victor. "All right, but if you try anything—" "Relax," Marcus interrupted, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "I'm just here to talk." Raphael led him to a small conference room off the lobby, closing the door behind them. He crossed his arms over his chest, his eyes never leaving Marcus. "Talk." Marcus leaned against the table, his expression unreadable. "Victor sent me. He wants you to know that he's aware of your involvement with Marina and the kid, and he's not happy about it." "I don't care what Victor wants," Raphael said, his voice cold. "Marina and Sophia are under my protection. If he thinks he can intimidate me, he's wrong." Marcus chuckled. "Marcus," a low, humorless sound. "You don't get it, do you? This isn't about intimidation. This is about sending a message." Before Raphael could respond, Marcus reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, folded piece of paper. He tossed it onto the table in front of Raphael. "What's this?" Raphael asked. Raphael, his eyes narrowing. "Open it," Marcus said, his smirk widening. Raphael picked up the paper and unfolded it, his stomach dropping as he saw the photograph inside. It was a picture of Marina and Sophia, taken just that morning as they played in the penthouse. The timestamp in the corner made it clear that Victor had eyes everywhere. "Victor wanted you to know that he's watching," Marcus said, his voice dripping with malice, "and he's not going to stop until he gets what he wants." Raphael's hands clenched into fists, his anger boiling over. "Get out," he said through gritted teeth. Marcus raised, an eyebrow clearly amused by Raphael's reaction. "You're making a mistake, Bennett. Victor doesn't lose, and neither do I." "Get out," Raphael repeated, his voice low and dangerous. Marcus shrugged, pushing off the table and heading for the door. But before he left, he turned back to Raphael, his expression dark. "You've been warned. Don't say I didn't give you a chance." As the door closed behind Marcus, Raphael stared down at the photograph in his hands, his mind racing. Victor wasn't just coming, he was already here, and he was playing for keeps. Back in the penthouse, Marina was pacing the living room, her anxiety growing with every passing minute. When Raphael finally returned, she rushed to him, her eyes wide with fear. What happened? Who was it? Raphael handed her the photograph without a word. Marina's hands trembled as she stared at the image, her breath catching in her throat. "Oh my God, he's been watching us." "We need to move," Raphael said, his voice firm. "Now!" Marina nodded, her face pale but determined. "Where will we go?" "Somewhere safe," Raphael said, already pulling out his phone. "Somewhere Victor can't find us." As he began making calls, Marina gathered Sophia, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew this was only the beginning. Victor had made his first move, and the game was far from over. What will Victor do next? Can Raphael and Marina stay one step ahead of him? And how far will Victor go to get what he wants? Stay tuned, because the stakes are higher than ever. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The safe house was a secluded cabin deep in the woods of upstate New York, far from the prying eyes of Victor's network. Raphael had arranged for it through a trusted contact, ensuring that the location was off the grid and nearly impossible to trace. The drive there was tense, with Marina constantly glancing out the window as if expecting Victor's men to appear at any moment. Sophia, thankfully, slept through most of the trip, her small body curled up in the back seat. When they finally arrived, the cabin was exactly as Raphael had described, rustic but secure, surrounded by towering trees and a sense of isolation that was both comforting and unnerving. "This is it," Raphael said as he parked the car and stepped out, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of trouble. "We'll be safe here." Marina unbuckled Sophia and carried her inside, her arms aching from the weight, but unwilling to let her daughter go. The cabin's interior was cozy, with a stone fireplace, a small kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. It wasn't much, but it was enough. "How long will we stay here?" Marina asked as she laid Sophia down on one of the beds. "As long as we need to," Raphael replied, his voice steady. "Victor's not going to find us here." But even as he said the words, Raphael couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Victor was relentless, and his resources were vast. It was only a matter of time before he caught up to them. The first few days at the cabin were uneventful, a strange mix of calm and tension. Marina spent her time keeping Sophia entertained, while Raphael worked tirelessly to gather information and strengthen their defenses. He had installed motion sensors around the perimeter of the cabin and set up a secure communication line with Jack, who was still digging into Victor's network. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Marina found Raphael sitting on the porch, his laptop open in front of him. She hesitated for a moment before joining him, her arms wrapped around herself against the chill. "Any news?" she asked softly. Raphael shook his head, his expression grim. "Not yet, but Jack's getting closer. He thinks he's found a way to track Victor's movements." Marina nodded, her eyes fixed on the darkening forest. "Do you think he'll find us here?" Raphael turned to her, his gaze steady. "I won't let that happen, Marina, I promise." She wanted to believe him, but the fear in her heart was hard to ignore. Victor had always been one step ahead, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this time would be no different. The storm hit on the 3rd night, a violent tempest that rattled the windows and sent branches crashing to the ground. Marina woke to the sound of thunder, her heart pounding as she checked on Sophia, who was still asleep. She found Raphael in the living room, his eyes fixed on the security monitors. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. "For now," Raphael replied, his tone tense, "but the storm's knocked out the motion sensors. We're blind out there." Marina's stomach churned. "What does that mean?" "It means we need to be extra careful," Raphael said, his eyes meeting hers. "Stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone." She nodded, her fear growing with every passing second. The Storm raged on, the wind and rain creating a cacophony that made it impossible to hear anything else. It was close to midnight when the power went out, plunging the cabin into darkness. Marina gasped, her hand flying to her chest as she fumbled for the flashlight Raphael had given her. "Raphael!" she called out, her voice trembling. "I'm here," he replied, his voice calm but urgent. "Stay where you are." She heard him moving through the cabin, his footsteps quick and purposeful. A moment later, the beam of his flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating his face. "The generator's down," he said, his voice tight. "I'm going to check the perimeter. Stay with Sophia." "Raphael, no," Marina said, her voice rising in panic. "It's too dangerous." "I don't have a choice," he said firmly. "If someone's out there, we need to know." Before she could argue, he was gone, the door closing behind him. With a soft click, Marina stood frozen in the darkness, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear the storm raging outside, the wind howling like a wild animal. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an eternity. Marina clutched the flashlight tightly, her eyes fixed on the door. She jumped when she heard a noise outside, her breath catching in her throat. "Raphael?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. There was no response. Outside, Raphael moved through the storm, his flashlight cutting through the rain as he scanned the area. The motion sensors were still down, leaving him blind to any potential threats. He knew it was risky, but he had to make sure they were safe. As he rounded the corner of the cabin, he froze. There, in the beam of his flashlight, was a figure, a man dressed in black, his face obscured by a hood. "Who are you?" Raphael demanded, his voice sharp. The man didn't respond. Instead, he lunged forward, a knife glinting in his hand. Raphael reacted instinctively, dodging the attack and grabbing the man's wrist. They struggled in the rain, the storm drowning out the sounds of their fight. Raphael managed to disarm the man, but before he could subdue him, another figure appeared out of the darkness. This one was bigger, stronger, and he moved with a speed that caught Raphael off guard. The second man tackled him to the ground, his fists raining down with brutal force. Raphael fought back, but he was outnumbered and outmatched. As the world began to blur around him, he heard Marina's voice calling his name, filled with fear and desperation. And then everything went black. What will happen to Raphael? Will Marina and Sophia be able to escape? And how far will Victor go to get what he wants? Stay tuned, because the storm is only the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The sound of the storm was deafening, a relentless roar of wind and rain that seemed to shake the very earth. Marina stood frozen in the cabin, her heart pounding as she strained to hear any sign of Raphael. The flashlight trembled in her hand, its beam flickering as her fear grew. "Raphael!" She called again, her voice barely audible over the storm. There was no answer. Panic surged through her and she rushed to the window, peering out into the darkness. The rain blurred her vision, but she could just make out the faint glow of Raphael's flashlight lying on the ground near the edge of the woods. Her stomach dropped. "No," she whispered, her voice breaking. She turned to Sophia, who was still asleep on the bed, oblivious to the chaos outside. Marina's mind raced. She couldn't leave Sophia alone, but she couldn't just stand there and do nothing. "Mommy?" Sophia's sleepy voice broke through her thoughts. Marina forced a smile, though her heart was breaking. "It's okay, sweetheart, go back to sleep." But Sophia sat up, rubbing her eyes. "Where's Mr. Raphael?" Marina hesitated, her throat tightening. He's outside. He'll be back soon." Sophia nodded, her trust in Marina unwavering. But Marina knew she couldn't wait. She grabbed the phone Raphael had given her, her hands shaking as she dialed Jack's number. "Jack, it's Marina," she said as soon as he answered, her voice frantic. "Something's happened. Raphael's outside and I think he's in trouble. Please, you have to help us." There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then Jack's voice, calm but urgent. "Stay inside, Marina. Lock the doors and don't let anyone in. I'm on my way." Marina hung up the phone, her mind racing. She locked the doors and windows, her hands trembling as she checked each one. Then she sat on the floor beside Sophia, holding her daughter close as the storm raged on. Outside, Raphael stirred, his head throbbing as he slowly regained consciousness. He was lying on the ground, the rain soaking through his clothes. His vision was blurry, but he could make out the figures. Standing over him, two men, their faces obscured by hoods. "Get up!" one of them growled, kicking Raphael in the side. Raphael groaned, his body aching as he struggled to his feet. His hands were bound behind his back, and he could feel the cold metal of a gun pressed against his back. "Where are you?" "Nun taking me?" he demanded, his voice hoarse. The men didn't answer. Instead, they dragged him toward a black SUV parked just beyond the tree line. Raphael's mind raced as he tried to piece together what had happened. Victor's men had found them, and now they were taking him away. But what about Marina and Sophia? The thought sent a surge of panic through him. He had to get back to them. He had to protect them. As they shoved him into the back of the SUV, Raphael's eyes darted around, searching for any opportunity to escape. But the men were too quick, too strong. One of them climbed into the driver's seat while the other sat beside Raphael, his gun trained on him. The engine roared to life, and the SUV sped away from the cabin, its headlights cutting through the storm. Raphael's heart sank as he realized they were heading deeper into the woods, away from any chance of help. Back at the cabin, Marina sat in the darkness, her arms wrapped around Sophia. The storm was beginning to subside, but the fear in her heart only grew. She had no way of knowing what had happened to Raphael, and the thought of facing Victor alone was almost too much to bear. "Mommy, I'm scared," Sophia whispered. Sophia, her small voice trembling. Marina held her tighter, her own fear threatening to overwhelm her. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. We're going to be okay." But even as she said the words, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The SUV came to a stop in a clearing deep in the woods. Raphael was dragged out and forced to his knees, the rain still pouring down around him. He squinted through the darkness, his heart pounding as he saw a figure step out of the shadows. Victor Grayson. The man was tall and imposing, his sharp features illuminated by the faint glow of a flashlight. His cold, calculating eyes locked onto Raphael, and a slow, menacing smile spread across his face. "Mr. Bennett," Victor said, his voice smooth but laced with malice. "I've been looking forward to this." Raphael glared at him, his jaw clenched. "Where's Marina? Where's Sophia?" Victor chuckled a low, humorless sound. "Don't worry about them. They'll be joining us soon enough." Raphael's blood ran cold. "If you hurt them—" "You'll what?" Victor interrupted, his voice sharp. "You're in no position to make threats, Bennett. You've been meddling in my affairs, and now you're going to pay for it." Raphael's mind raced as he tried to think of a way out. He had to stall, to buy time for Marina and Sophia. "What do you want, Victor?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. Victor's smile widened. "What I've always wanted, control, power, and you, Mr. Bennett, you, Mr. are standing in my way." Before Raphael could respond, Victor nodded to one of his men, who stepped forward with a syringe in his hand. Raphael's eyes widened as the man injected the contents into his arm, the world around him beginning to blur. "Don't worry," Victor said as Raphael's vision darkened. "This is just the beginning. What will Victor do to Raphael? Will Marina and Sophia be able to escape? And how far will Victor go to get what he wants? Stay tuned, because the danger is only getting closer. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The storm had passed, leaving behind a heavy silence that pressed down on the cabin like a suffocating blanket. Marina sat on the floor, her arms wrapped tightly around Sophia, her mind racing with fear and desperation. The phone in her hand felt like a lifeline, but it had been hours since she'd spoken to Jack, and there was still no sign of help. "Mommy, where's Mr. Raphael?" Sophia asked, her voice small and trembling. Marina forced a smile, though her heart was breaking. He's coming back soon, sweetheart. He just had to take care of something." But even as she said the words, she knew they were a lie. Raphael was gone, and she had no way of knowing if he was alive or dead. The thought sent a wave of nausea through her, and she tightened her grip on Sophia, as if holding her daughter could somehow keep the darkness at bay. The sound of a car engine broke through the silence, and Marina's head snapped up. She scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding as she peered out the window. A pair of headlights cut through the darkness, and a moment later, a familiar figure stepped out of the car. Jack. Marina rushed to the door, her hands trembling as she unlocked it. "Jack!" she cried, her voice filled with relief. Jack's face was grim as he stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room. "Where's Raphael?" Marina's relief turned to panic. "He's gone. They took him. Victor's men, they were here, and they took him." Jack's jaw tightened, his expression darkening. "We need to move, now." "What about Raphael?" Marina asked, her voice breaking. "We'll find him," Jack said firmly. "But first, we need to get you and Sophia out of here." Marina hesitated, torn between the need to protect her daughter and the desperate desire to find Raphael. But she knew Jack was right. They couldn't. "Stay here." She grabbed a bag of essentials she'd packed earlier and scooped Sophia into her arms. "Let's go." The drive was tense, the silence in the car broken only by the sound of Sophia's soft breathing as she slept in the back seat. Marina sat in the passenger seat, her hands clenched in her lap, her mind racing with fear and guilt. "We'll find him, Marina," Jack said, his voice steady. "Raphael's tough. He'll hold on until we get to him." Marina nodded, though she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her chest. "What if we're too late?" "We won't be," Jack said firmly. "I've got people looking into Victor's movements. We'll track him down." Marina wanted to believe him, but the fear in her heart was hard to ignore. Victor was ruthless, and she knew he wouldn't hesitate to hurt Raphael if it meant getting what he wanted. Meanwhile, Raphael stirred, his head throbbing. As he slowly regained consciousness, he was lying on a cold, hard floor, his hands bound behind his back. The room was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of damp concrete. He groaned, trying to sit up, but a sharp pain in his side made him gasp. He looked down and saw a dark stain spreading across his shirt. Blood. "Ah, you're awake," a voice said, cold and mocking. Raphael's head snapped up, his eyes locking onto Victor, who stood a few feet away, a smug smile on his face. "Where am I?" Raphael demanded, his voice hoarse. "Somewhere you'll never be found," Victor replied, his tone dripping with malice. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long, Bennett. It's time we settled this." Raphael's mind raced as he tried to think of a way out. He had to stall, to buy time for Jack and Marina to find him. "What do you want, Victor?" he asked, his voice steady despite the pain. Victor's smile widened. "What I've always wanted. Control. Power, and you, Mr. Bennett, are standing in my way." Before Raphael could respond, Victor nodded to one of his men, who stepped forward with a syringe in his hand. Raphael's eyes widened as the man injected the contents into his arm, the world around him beginning to blur. "Don't worry," Victor said as Raphael's vision darkened. "This is just the beginning." Back in the car, Marina's phone buzzed, and she quickly answered it. "Jack? We've got a location," Jack said, his voice tight with urgency. "Victor's got a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. That's where he's holding Raphael." Marina's heart leapt into her throat. "We have to go there, now." "We will," Jack said firmly, "but you and Sophia need to stay back. It's too dangerous." "No," Marina said, her voice firm. "I'm not leaving him." Jack hesitated, but he knew. There was no talking her out of it. "All right. But you stay close to me, and you do exactly as I say. Understood?" "Understood," Marina said, her resolve unwavering. The warehouse was a looming, ominous structure, its windows dark and its walls stained with years of neglect. Jack parked the car a safe distance away, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of movement. "Stay here," he said to Marina, his voice low. "I'll go in first." Marina nodded, though her heart was pounding. She watched as Jack disappeared into the shadows, her mind racing with fear and hope. Minutes passed, each one feeling like an eternity. Then suddenly, the sound of gunfire echoed through the night, and Marina's heart leaped into her throat. "Mummy, what's happening?" Sophia asked, her voice trembling. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart," Marina said, though her own fear was threatening to overwhelm her. Then the door of the warehouse burst open, and Jack emerged, dragging a bloodied and battered Raphael with him. "Raphael!" Marina cried, rushing forward to help. "We need to go," Jack said, his voice urgent. "Now!" Marina didn't need to be told twice. She helped Jack get Raphael into the car, her hands trembling as she checked his wounds. "Raphael, can you hear me?" she asked, her voice breaking. He groaned, his eyes fluttering open. "Marina, you're safe." Tears streamed down her face as she held him close, her heart swelling with relief. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. "We're going to be okay. What will Victor do next? Will Raphael recover from his injuries? And how far will Marina go to protect her family? Stay tuned, because the danger is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The car sped through the night, the city lights blurring into streaks of color as Jack navigated the streets with practiced ease. Raphael lay in the back seat, his breathing shallow and labored, while Marina held his hand, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and fear. Sophia sat quietly beside her, her wide eyes filled with confusion and worry. "Hang in there, Raphael," Marina whispered, her voice trembling. "We're almost there." Jack glanced at them in the rearview mirror, his expression grim. "I've got a safe house set up. It's not far. We'll get him patched up there." Marina nodded, though. Her mind was racing. Raphael's injuries were severe. His face was bruised and bloodied, and his shirt was soaked with blood. She couldn't shake the image of Victor's cold, calculating eyes, the way he'd smiled as he'd taunted Raphael. "Jack," she said suddenly, her voice tight with urgency. "What if Victor comes after us again? What if he's already tracking us?" "He won't find us," Jack said firmly. "The safe house is off the grid. No one knows about it except me." Marina wanted to believe him, but the fear in her heart was hard to ignore. Victor was relentless, and she knew he wouldn't stop until he got what he wanted. The safe house was a small, nondescript apartment in a quiet neighborhood, its windows covered with heavy curtains and its doors reinforced with steel. Jack helped Raphael inside, laying him down on the couch, while Marina rushed to find the first aid kit. "We need to stop the bleeding," Jack said, his voice calm but urgent. Marina nodded, her hands trembling as she opened the kit and pulled out bandages and antiseptic. She worked quickly, cleaning Raphael's wounds and applying pressure to the deepest cuts. Raphael groaned in pain, his eyes fluttering open. "Marina," he whispered, his voice weak. "I'm here," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You're going to be okay." Raphael's hand found hers, his grip surprisingly strong despite his injuries. "Sophia, is she safe?" "She's right here," Marina said, glancing at her daughter, who was sitting on the floor. Nearby, her eyes wide with fear. "We're all safe, thanks to you." Raphael's eyes closed, his breathing evening out as he drifted into unconsciousness. Marina sat back, her hands covered in blood, her heart aching with a mix of relief and guilt. "He's strong," Jack said, his voice gentle. "He'll pull. He'll through." Marina nodded, though she couldn't shake the feeling that they were far from safe. The next few hours passed in a blur. Jack kept watch while Marina tended to Raphael, her hands steady despite the fear that gnawed at her. Sophia eventually fell asleep on the floor, her small body curled up under a blanket. As the first light of dawn filtered through the curtains, Raphael stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Marina," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I'm here," she said, taking his hand. "How do you feel?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," he said with a weak smile. Marina chuckled despite herself, the sound tinged with relief. "You scared me, Raphael." "I'm sorry," he said, his expression serious. "I didn't mean to put you and Sophia in danger." "You didn't," Marina said firmly. "Victor did, and we're going to stop him." Raphael's eyes met hers, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Then he nodded, his resolve hardening. "We will, But first, we need a plan. Over the next few days, Raphael slowly regained his strength, though the bruises and cuts served as a constant reminder of what they were up against. Jack worked tirelessly to gather information on Victor's movements, while Marina focused on keeping Sophia safe and calm. One evening, as they sat around the small kitchen table, Jack laid out a map of the city, his expression grim. "Victor's been laying low since the warehouse," he said, his voice low. "But he's not done. He's got too much at stake to let this go." "What's our next move?" Raphael asked, his voice steady, despite the pain that still lingered in his body. Jack hesitated, his eyes flickering to Marina and Sophia. "We need to draw him out. Make him come to us." Marina's heart skipped a beat. "How?" "We use what he wants," Jack said, his voice firm. "We use you." Marina's eyes widened, her stomach churning at the thought. "You want to use me as bait?" "It's the only way," Jack said, his expression apologetic but resolute. "Victor's obsessed with you and Sophia. If he thinks he can get to you, he'll come running." Raphael's jaw tightened, his eyes filled with concern. "It's too dangerous." "It's the only way," Jack repeated, "but we'll be ready. We'll set a trap, and when he walks into it, we'll take him down." Marina looked at Raphael, her heart pounding. She knew it was risky, but she also knew they couldn't keep running forever. "All right," she said finally, her voice steady. "Let's do it. What will Victor do when he realizes he's been lured into a trap? Will Marina and Sophia be able to stay safe? And how far will Raphael go to protect the woman he loves? Stay tuned, because the final showdown is just beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The plan was set. Marina would make a public appearance at a local park, a place Victor's men were sure to spot her. Jack had arranged for a team of undercover officers to be stationed nearby, ready to move in at a moment's notice. Raphael, still recovering from his injuries, would stay back at the safe house with Sophia, his heart heavy with worry. "Are you sure about this?" Raphael asked as Marina prepared to leave, his voice filled with concern. Marina nodded, though her hands trembled as she adjusted her coat. "It's the only way, Raphael. We can't keep running forever." Raphael's jaw tightened, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and admiration. "Just be careful. Promise me." "I promise," Marina said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. She kissed Sophia goodbye, holding her daughter tightly for a moment before stepping out into the crisp morning air. The park was just a few blocks away, its paths lined with trees and its benches filled with people enjoying the early hours. Marina walked slowly, her eyes scanning the area for any signs of danger. She didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, a black SUV pulled up to the curb, its windows tinted and its engine idling ominously. Marina's heart leaped into her throat as the doors opened and two men stepped out, their faces obscured by sunglasses and hoods. "Marina Carter," one of them said, his voice cold and menacing. "Victor wants to see you." Marina forced herself to stay calm, her mind racing as she remembered the plan. "Where is he?" "Get in the car," the man said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Marina hesitated for a moment, then nodded, her heart pounding as she climbed into the back seat. The men followed, their eyes never leaving her as the SUV sped away from the park. Back at the safe house, Raphael paced the living room, his mind racing with fear and frustration. He hated being sidelined, hated the thought of Marina walking into danger alone. But he knew he had to stay strong for Sophia, who sat quietly on the couch, her eyes wide with worry. "Mr. Raphael," Sophia asked, her voice small and trembling. "Is Mommy going to be okay?" Raphael forced a smile, though his heart was breaking. "She's going to be just fine, sweetheart. She's very brave." Sophia nodded, though her fear was evident. Raphael sat down beside her, pulling her into a tight hug. "We're going to get through this, Sophia, I promise." The SUV came to a stop in front of an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, its walls crumbling and its windows shattered. Marina's heart pounded as she was led inside, her eyes scanning the dimly lit space for any signs of Victor. "Welcome, Marina," a voice said, cold and mocking. Marina's head snapped up, her eyes locking onto Victor, who stood at the far end of the room, a smug smile on his face. "Victor," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "I have to admit I'm impressed," Victor said, his tone dripping with malice. "You've been quite the thorn in my side, but now it's time to end this." Marina's mind raced as she tried to think of a way out. She knew Jack and his team were close, but she also knew she had to stall, to buy time for them to move in. "What do you want, Victor?" she asked, her voice firm. Victor's smile widened. "What I've always wanted, control, power, and you, my dear, are the key to it all." Before Marina could respond, the sound of sirens filled the air, and Victor's smile faltered. "What's this?" he demanded, his voice sharp. Marina allowed herself a small smile. "You've been outplayed, Victor." Victor's eyes narrowed, his expression darkening. "You think you've won? You're mistaken." He nodded to one of his men who stepped forward with a syringe in his hand. Marina's eyes widened as the man injected the contents into her arm, the world around her beginning to blur. "Don't worry," Victor said as Marina's vision darkened. "This is just the beginning. What will Victor do next? Will Jack and his team be able to save Marina? And how far will Raphael go to protect the woman he loves? Stay tuned, because the final showdown is just beginning. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The sound of sirens grew louder, echoing through the abandoned warehouse as Victor's men scrambled to react. Victor's face twisted with rage as he realized he'd been outmaneuvered. "Get her out of here!" he barked, his voice sharp and commanding. One of his men grabbed Marina, who was barely conscious, and dragged her toward a back exit. Victor followed, his mind racing as he tried to formulate a new plan. But before they could reach the door, the sound of gunfire erupted, and Victor's men dropped to the ground, their bodies lifeless. Victor froze, his eyes widening as Jack and a team of armed officers stormed into the room, their weapons trained on him. "It's over, Victor," Jack said, his voice steady and firm. "Let her go." Victor's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, but there was none. He was trapped. With a snarl of frustration, he shoved Marina to the ground and raised his hands in surrender. "You think this is over? You're mistaken." Jack didn't respond. Instead, he moved quickly to Marina's side, checking her pulse and breathing a sigh of relief when he found it steady. "Get her out of here," he ordered one of the officers, who nodded and carefully lifted Marina into his arms. As Marina was carried out of the warehouse, Jack turned his attention back to Victor, his expression grim. "You're under arrest, Grayson. Anything you say can and will be used against you." Victor's eyes burned with hatred, but he said nothing as he was handcuffed and led away. Back at the safe house, Raphael paced the living room, his mind racing with fear and frustration. He hated being sidelined, hated the thought of Marina walking into danger alone. But he knew he had to stay strong for Sophia, who sat quietly on the couch, her eyes wide with worry. "Mr. Raphael?" Sophia asked, her voice small and trembling. "Is Mummy going to be okay?" Raphael forced a smile, though his heart was breaking. "She's going to be just fine, sweetheart. She's very brave." Sophia nodded, though her fear was evident. Raphael sat down beside her, pulling her into a tight hug. "We're going to get through this, Sophia. I promise." The sound of a car pulling up outside broke through the silence, and Raphael's head snapped up. He rushed to the window, his heart pounding as he saw Jack's car parked outside. "Stay here," he said to Sophia, his voice firm. He opened the door and stepped outside, his eyes locking onto Jack as he climbed out of the car. "Where's Marina?" Raphael demanded, his voice tight with fear. "She's safe," Jack said, his voice steady. "Victor's in custody. It's over." Raphael's heart leaped with relief, but it was short-lived as he saw the look in Jack's eyes. "What is it?" he asked, his voice trembling. Jack hesitated, his expression grim. "Marina's been drugged. We're not sure what Victor gave her, but she's unconscious. We're taking her to the hospital." Raphael's blood ran cold. "Take me to her." The hospital was a blur of white walls, and fluorescent lights, the air thick with the smell of antiseptic. Raphael sat by Marina's bedside, his hand clutching hers as he watched the steady rise and fall of her chest. "She's strong," the doctor said, his voice gentle. "We've given her something to counteract the drug, but it's going to take some time for her to wake up." Raphael nodded, though his heart was heavy with worry. He couldn't lose her. Not now. Not after everything they'd been through. As the hours passed, Raphael stayed by Marina's side, his mind racing with fear and guilt. He should have been there. He should have protected her. But as the first light of dawn filtered through the window, Marina stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Raphael," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'm here," Raphael said, his voice breaking with relief. "You're safe." Marina's eyes filled with tears as she looked at him, her hand tightening around his. "Sophia." "She's safe," Raphael said, his voice steady. "She's with Jack. We're all safe, thanks to you." Marina nodded, her eyes closing as she drifted back into sleep. Raphael sat back, his heart swelling with love and gratitude. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin to heal. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, and Sophia? How will they rebuild their lives after everything they've been through? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The hospital room was quiet, the only sound the soft beeping of the heart monitor beside Marina's bed. Raphael sat in a chair next to her, his hand still clutching hers, his eyes never leaving her face. She had been in and out of consciousness for the past 2 days, but the doctors assured him she was recovering well. The drug Victor had given her was potent, but it was slowly working its way out of her system. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed, her small hands clutching a stuffed rabbit Jack had brought her. She had been quiet since they arrived at the hospital, her wide eyes filled with a mix of fear and confusion. Raphael had done his best to reassure her, but he knew the events of the past few weeks had taken a toll on her. "Mommy's going to be okay, right?" Sophia asked, her voice small and trembling. Raphael forced a smile, though his heart ached at the fear in her voice. "She's going to be just fine, sweetheart. She just needs some rest." Sophia nodded, though her worry was evident. She climbed off the bed and walked over to Raphael, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I'm glad you're here, Mr. Raphael." Raphael's heart swelled with emotion as he hugged her tightly. "I'm glad. I'm here too, Sophia." Later that evening, Marina stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She blinked a few times, her vision slowly coming into focus as she looked around the room. "Raphael?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. "I'm here," Raphael said, leaning forward and taking her hand. "How are you?" "Feeling?" Marina smiled weakly. "Like I've been hit by a truck, but I'll be okay." Raphael chuckled despite himself, the sound tinged with relief. "You scared me, Marina." "I'm sorry," she said, her expression serious. "I didn't mean to put you and Sophia through all of this." "You didn't," Raphael said firmly. "Victor did, and he's going to pay for what he's done." Marina nodded, though her eyes filled with tears. I can't believe it's over." "It is," Raphael said, his voice steady. "And now we can start over, together." Marina's heart swelled with love and gratitude as she looked at him, her hand tightening around his. Together. The days that followed were a blur of healing and new beginnings. Marina was released from the hospital and they returned to Raphael's penthouse, which now felt more like a home than ever before. Jack had arranged for extra security, just in case, but Victor's arrest had brought a sense of peace that none of them had felt in a long time. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching Sophia play with her toys, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression serious. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice soft. Raphael hesitated, his mind racing in thoughts of the future. "Now we take things one day at a time. We focus on healing, on building a life together, and we make sure Sophia feels safe and loved." Marina nodded, though her eyes were filled with uncertainty. "And what about us?" Raphael's heart skipped a beat as he looked at her, his love for her shining in his eyes. Marina, I've loved you since we were kids, and after everything we've been through, I know I never want to be without you. I want to build a life with you and Sophia, a real life. Marina's eyes filled with tears as she looked at him, her heart swelling with love and hope. I want that too, Raphael, more than anything. Raphael smiled, his heart full as he pulled her into a tight embrace. Then that's what we'll do, together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, and Sophia? How will they rebuild their lives after everything they've been through? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The weeks that followed were a time of healing and rebuilding. Raphael, Marina, and Sophia settled into a new routine, one filled with laughter, love, and the kind of peace they had all been longing for. The penthouse, once a cold and sterile space, now felt like a home, filled with the sounds of Sophia's laughter and the warmth of their growing bond. One morning, as Raphael sat at the kitchen table sipping his coffee, Marina joined him, her face glowing with a sense of calm he hadn't seen in years. "Good morning," she said, smiling as she poured herself a cup of coffee. "Morning," Raphael replied, his heart swelling with love as he looked at her. "How'd you sleep?" "Better than I have in a long time," Marina admitted, sitting down across from him. "It's amazing what a little peace of mind can do." Raphael nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we made some changes, bigger changes." Marina raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "What kind of changes?" "I've been looking into selling the penthouse," Raphael said, his voice steady. "I think it's time we found a place that feels more like a home, somewhere with a yard for Sophia to play in, maybe. Even a dog." Marina's eyes widened, her heart leaping with excitement. "A dog? Sophia would love that." Raphael chuckled. "I thought so too, and I've been thinking about work as well. I've spent so many years building my career, but now I want to focus on what really matters. On us." Marina's eyes filled with tears as she looked at him, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. "Raphael, that sounds amazing, but are you sure? Your business, it's a big part of your life." "It is," Raphael admitted, "but it's not the most important part. You and Sophia are, and I want to make sure we have the life we deserve." Marina reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. "We already do, Raphael, because we have each other." Later that day, Raphael took Sophia to the park, giving Marina some time to herself. As they walked hand in hand, Sophia looked up at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Mr. Raphael?" she asked, her voice small and sweet. "Yes, sweetheart," Raphael replied, smiling down at her. "Are you going to be my daddy now?" Raphael's heart skipped a beat, his chest tightening with emotion. He crouched down to her level, his eyes meeting hers. "Is that what you want, Sophia?" Sophia nodded eagerly, her face lighting up with a smile. "Yes, I want you to be my daddy." Raphael's eyes filled with tears as he pulled her into a tight hug. "Then I'll be your daddy, Sophia, and I'll love you and take care of you, always." Sophia giggled, her small arms wrapping around his neck. "I love you, Daddy." Raphael's heart swelled with love and joy, the weight of the past few weeks melting away. In that moment, he knew he had everything he had ever wanted. That evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression serious. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to ask you," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I know we've been through so much, and I know we're still healing, but I don't want to wait anymore. Raphael, will you marry me?" Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "Marina, I know it's not traditional," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "But I don't care about tradition. I care about us, about our family, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Raphael's eyes filled with tears as he pulled her into a tight embrace. "Yes, Marina. Yes, I'll marry you." Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, and Sophia? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The engagement was a quiet affair, just the three of them, Raphael, Marina, and Sophia, celebrating with a homemade dinner and a small cake Marina had baked. Sophia had insisted on decorating it herself, her tiny hands carefully placing sprinkles in the shape of a heart. As they sat around the table, the warmth of their little family filled the room, a stark contrast to the chaos they had left behind. "To new beginnings," Raphael said, raising his glass of sparkling cider. "To new beginnings," Marina echoed, her eyes shining with happiness. Sophia clinked her glass of juice against theirs, giggling as she took a sip. "I love being a family." Raphael's heart swelled with love as he looked at her. "We love being a family too, Sophia." In the weeks that followed, Raphael and Marina began planning their future together. They found a house in a quiet suburban neighborhood, a place with a big backyard and plenty of room for Sophia to grow. The move was bittersweet. Leaving the penthouse behind felt like closing a chapter on their past, but the new house represented the fresh start they all needed. One afternoon, as they unpacked boxes in the new house, Marina found an old photo album tucked away in one of the moving boxes. She sat down on the floor, flipping through the pages, her heart aching as she saw pictures of her and Sophia from years ago. "What's that?" Raphael asked, sitting down beside her. "Just some old photos," Marina said, her voice soft. "It's strange, looking back at everything we've been through." Raphael wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Marina nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "I never thought we'd get here, but I'm so glad we did." Raphael kissed the top of her head, his heart full. "Me too, Marina. Me too." As they settled into their new home, Raphael and Marina began to focus on the future. Raphael scaled back his work commitments, choosing to spend more time with Marina and Sophia. They enrolled Sophia in a local school, where she quickly made friends and began to thrive. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching Sophia play in the yard, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking maybe it's time we expanded our family." Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "You mean?" Marina nodded, her face lighting up with a smile. "I want to have a baby with you, Raphael. I want us to grow our family." Raphael's eyes filled with tears as he pulled her into a tight embrace. "Marina, that's all I've ever wanted." Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, and Sophia? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The news of Marina's pregnancy brought a new wave of joy and excitement to their lives. Sophia was thrilled at the idea of becoming a big sister, and Raphael couldn't stop smiling as he imagined their family growing. They spent the next few months preparing for the baby's arrival, transforming one of the spare rooms into a nursery and filling it with tiny clothes, toys, and books. One evening, as they sat in the nursery putting the finishing touches on the crib, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to ask you," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we made things official. I want to marry you before the baby comes." Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "Marina, that sounds perfect." Marina's face lit up with a smile. "I was thinking we could have a small ceremony, just us and Sophia, something simple and meaningful." Raphael nodded, his heart full. "That sounds perfect. Let's do it." The wedding was a quiet, intimate affair held in the backyard of their new home. Sophia served as the flower girl, scattering petals as she walked down the aisle, her face glowing with happiness. Marina wore a simple white dress, her baby bump just beginning to show, and Raphael couldn't take his eyes off her as she walked toward him. As they exchanged vows, their love for each other shone brightly, a testament to everything they had overcome. "I promise to love you, to support you, and to stand by your side through everything," Raphael said, his voice steady and filled with emotion. "I promise to love you, to cherish you, and to build a life with you," Marina replied, her eyes filled with tears. When the ceremony was over, they celebrated with a small reception surrounded by the people they loved most. It was a day filled with joy and laughter, a celebration of their love and the family they had built together. As the months passed, Marina's pregnancy progressed smoothly, and the excitement for the baby's arrival grew. Sophia was eager to meet her new sibling, and Raphael couldn't wait to hold his child in his arms. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression serious. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we expanded our family even more. I want to have another baby with you, Raphael. I want us to grow our family even bigger." Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "Marina, that's all I've ever wanted." Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, and Sophia? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The day of the baby's arrival came sooner than anyone expected. Marina woke up in the middle of the night, her contractions strong and steady. Raphael sprang into action, helping her into the car and driving to the hospital with a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Sophia stayed behind with a trusted neighbor, her face filled with excitement as she waved them off. "You're going to be a big sister," Marina had told her earlier that day, and Sophia had beamed with pride. At the hospital, Raphael stayed by Marina's side, holding her hand and offering words of encouragement as she labored. Hours passed, each one filled with anticipation and love. Finally, as the first light of dawn filtered through the hospital window, their baby was born. A healthy baby boy with a full head of dark hair and his father's eyes. "He's perfect," Marina whispered, tears streaming down her face as she held him for the first time. Raphael's heart swelled with love as he looked at his son, his chest tightening with emotion. "He's beautiful, Marina, just like you." They named him Lucas, a name that felt strong and full of promise. As they held him in their arms, the weight of everything they had been through melted away, replaced by a sense of joy and hope for the future. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and endless cuddles. Sophia was over the moon to meet her baby brother, her face lighting up every time she held him. "He's so tiny," she exclaimed, her voice filled with wonder. "He is," Raphael said, smiling as he watched her, "but he's going to grow up big and strong, just like you." Sophia grinned, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm going to teach him everything." Marina laughed, her heart full as she watched her family together. It was everything she had ever wanted and more. As the weeks passed, they settled into their new routine, their lives filled with love and laughter. Raphael took time off work to be with Marina and the kids, cherishing every moment of their time together. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we made things even more official. I want to adopt Sophia, Raphael. I want her to be your daughter in every way." Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "Marina, that's all I've ever wanted." Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, and Lucas? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The adoption process was a journey in itself, filled with paperwork, meetings, and emotions that ran deeper than Raphael or Marina had anticipated. But every step felt worth it as they moved closer to making Sophia officially Raphael's daughter. Sophia, for her part, was overjoyed at the idea. "Does this mean I get to call you Daddy all the time now?" she asked one evening, her eyes wide with excitement. Raphael laughed, his heart swelling with love. "You can call me whatever you want, sweetheart. But yes, I'll be your dad in every way." Sophia threw her arms around him, her tiny frame squeezing him tightly. "I love you, Daddy." Raphael's eyes filled with tears as he hugged her back. "I love you too, Sophia, more than anything." The day of the adoption hearing was one they would never forget. The courtroom was quiet, the air filled with a sense of solemnity and hope. Sophia sat between Raphael and Marina, her small hand clutching Raphael's as the judge reviewed the paperwork. "Do you understand what this means, Sophia?" the judge asked, her voice kind but firm. Sophia nodded, her face serious. "It means Raphael is my daddy forever." The judge smiled, her eyes softening. "That's right. And do you want that?" "Yes," Sophia said, her voice filled with certainty. The judge turned to Raphael and Marina. "And you both understand the responsibilities that come with this adoption?" "We do," Raphael said, his voice steady. "We love Sophia as our own, and we're committed to giving her the best life." "Impossible," the judge nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Then it is my honor to grant this adoption. Congratulations, you are now a family in the eyes of the law." Tears streamed down Marina's face as she hugged Sophia tightly, her heart full. Raphael wrapped his arms around both of them, his love for his family overwhelming. That evening, they celebrated with a small party at home, surrounded by friends and loved ones. Jack was there, his gruff exterior softened by the joy of the occasion. "You've come a long way, Raphael," Jack said, clapping him on the back. "I'm proud of you." Raphael smiled, his heart full. "Thanks, Jack. I couldn't have done it without you." As the night wore on, Raphael found himself standing in the doorway of the nursery, watching Marina rock Lucas to sleep. Sophia was curled up in her bed, her stuffed rabbit clutched tightly in her arms. Raphael's heart swelled with love as he looked at his family, his mind filled with gratitude for everything they had overcome. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, stronger and more united than ever. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, and Lucas? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Life settled into a new rhythm after the adoption. Sophia proudly introduced Raphael as her dad at school, and Lucas grew bigger and more curious by the day. The house was filled with laughter, the sound of little feet running through the halls, and the occasional cry in the middle of the night. It was chaotic, but it was their chaos, and Raphael wouldn't have traded it for anything. One Saturday morning, as they sat around the breakfast table, Sophia looked up from her pancakes, her face serious. "Daddy," she said, her voice filled with determination, "I think we should get a dog." Raphael raised an eyebrow, glancing at Marina, who was trying to hide a smile. "A dog, huh?" "Yes," Sophia said, her eyes lighting up. "A big one, like the ones we see at the park." Raphael chuckled, his heart warming at her enthusiasm. "Well, we'll have to talk about it as a family, but I think it's a great idea." Marina nodded, her eyes twinkling. "I think it's time we added another member to the family." The following weekend, they visited a local animal shelter. Sophia was practically bouncing with excitement as they walked through the rows of kennels, her eyes wide as she took in all the dogs. "What about that one?" she asked, pointing to a large, fluffy golden retriever. Raphael knelt down to read the sign on the kennel. "His name is Max. He's 3 years old and loves kids." The shelter worker opened the kennel and Max bounded out, his tail wagging furiously. Sophia squealed with delight as he licked her face, and even Lucas giggled from Marina's arms. "I think he's the one," Marina said, her heart melting at the sight. Raphael nodded, his decision made. "Welcome to the family, Max." Max quickly became a beloved member of the household. He followed Sophia everywhere, his tail wagging as he played fetch in the backyard or curled up at her feet during story time. Lucas, now crawling, was fascinated by the dog, his tiny hands reaching out to grab fistfuls of fur. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the kids play with Max, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we started thinking about the future, about what's next for us." Raphael nodded, his expression serious. "I've been thinking about that too. I want to make sure we're building a life that's not just safe, but fulfilling, for all of us." Marina smiled, her heart swelling with love. "I think we're on the right track. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, Lucas, and Max? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The idea of building a future together sparked a new sense of purpose for Raphael and Marina. They began discussing their dreams and goals, not just for themselves, but for their growing family. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the kids play with Max, Marina brought up an idea that had been on her mind for a while. "Raphael," she began, her voice soft but filled with excitement, "what if we started our own business? Something that would allow us to work together and spend more time with the kids." Raphael raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of business?" Marina smiled, her eyes sparkling. "A family cafe. Somewhere cozy and welcoming, where people can gather and feel at home. We could serve homemade meals, pastries and coffee, and we could involve the kids too. Sophia could help with decorating, and Lucas could be our little mascot." Raphael's heart swelled with pride as he listened to her. "That sounds amazing, Marina, but are you sure you're ready to take on something like that?" Marina nodded, her determination shining through. "I've been thinking about it for a while. I want to create something that's ours, something that reflects who we are as a family." Raphael took her hand, his love for her overflowing. "Then let's do it. Let's build something together." The next few months were a whirlwind of planning and preparation. They found a small, charming space in their neighborhood and began transforming it into their dream cafe. Sophia was thrilled to help with the decorating, her artistic talents shining as she painted murals on the walls. Lucas, now toddling around, became the cafe's unofficial taste tester, his giggles filling the air as he sampled Marina's creations. They decided to name the cafe the Bennett Family Table, a nod to their journey and the love that had brought them together. The grand opening was a celebration of their hard work and dedication, with friends, family, and neighbors filling the space with laughter and joy. As they stood behind the counter, watching Sophia greet customers with her infectious smile and Lucas toddle around with Max by his side, Raphael felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known before. "We did it. Marina said, her voice filled with pride as she squeezed his hand. "We did," Raphael replied, his heart full. "And this is just the beginning." What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, Lucas and Max? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The Bennett family table quickly became a beloved fixture in the neighborhood. Locals flocked to the cafe for Marina's homemade pastries and Raphael's expertly brewed coffee, but it was the warm, welcoming atmosphere that kept them coming back. The cafe wasn't just a business, it was a reflection of their family, a place where people could gather and feel at home. Sophia, now a confident and creative 8-year-old, took her role as the cafe's junior decorator seriously. She painted seasonal murals on the walls, her artwork becoming a talking point for customers. Lucas, now 3, was the cafe's little ambassador, his cheerful giggles and boundless energy bringing smiles to everyone he met. Max, ever the loyal companion, lounged by the door, greeting customers with a wagging tail. One afternoon, as the cafe buzzed with activity, Marina stood behind the counter, her heart full as she watched Raphael interact with a group of regulars. He had a natural charm that made everyone feel at ease, and she couldn't help but smile as he laughed at something a customer said. "You've built something amazing here," a voice said beside her. Marina turned to see Jack standing there, his gruff exterior softened by a rare smile. "Thank you, Jack," Marina said, her voice filled with gratitude. "We couldn't have done it without your support." Jack shrugged, his eyes scanning the bustling cafe. "You two did the hard work. I just gave you a nudge in the right direction." Marina smiled, her heart swelling with love for the man who had become such an important part of their lives. "Well, we're grateful for that nudge." As the months passed, the cafe became more than just a business. It became a legacy. Raphael and Marina worked side by side, their love and dedication evident in every detail. They hosted community events, from story time for kids to live music nights, and the cafe became a hub of connection and joy. One evening, as they closed up for the night, Raphael turned to Marina, his expression thoughtful. "Marina, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about," he said, his voice soft. "What is it?" Marina asked, her heart skipping a beat. Raphael took a deep breath, his eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we expanded our family again." Marina's eyes widened, her heart pounding in her chest. "You mean?" Raphael nodded, his smile warm and reassuring. "I want to have another baby with you, Marina. I want us to grow our family even more." Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, Lucas, and Max? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The news of Marina's pregnancy brought a new wave of joy and excitement to their lives. Sophia was thrilled at the idea of becoming a big sister again, and Raphael couldn't stop smiling as he imagined their family growing even more. They spent the next few months preparing for the baby's arrival, transforming one of the spare rooms into a nursery and filling it with tiny clothes, toys, and books. One evening, as they sat in the nursery putting the finishing touches on the crib, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to ask you," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. "I've been thinking, maybe it's time we made things even more official. I want to renew our vows, Raphael. I want to celebrate our love and our family in front of everyone we care about." Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. "Marina, that sounds perfect." Marina's face lit up with a smile. I was thinking we could have a big celebration with all our friends and family, something that reflects how far we've come. Raphael nodded, his heart full. Let's do it. The vow renewal was a celebration of love, family, and everything they had overcome. The ceremony was held in the backyard of their home, with Sophia and Lucas standing by their side as they exchanged vows. I promise to love you, to support you, and to stand by your side. Through everything, Raphael said, his voice steady and filled with emotion. I promise to love you, to cherish you, and to build a life with you, Marina replied, her eyes filled with tears. When the ceremony was over, they celebrated with a reception at the Bennett family table, surrounded by the people they loved most. It was a day filled with joy and laughter, a celebration of their love and the family they had built together. As the months passed, Marina's pregnancy progressed smoothly, and the excitement for the baby's arrival grew. Sophia was eager to meet her new sibling, and Raphael couldn't wait to hold his child in his arms. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression serious. Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about, she said, her voice soft. What is it? Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and hope. I've been thinking maybe it's time we expanded our family even more. I want to have another baby with you, Raphael. I want us to grow our family even bigger. Raphael's eyes widened, his heart pounding in his chest. Marina, that's all I've ever wanted. Marina's heart swelled with love and joy as she kissed him, the weight of the past finally lifting. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side, and now they could finally begin their new life together. What will the future hold for Raphael, Marina, Sophia, Lucas, and Max? How will they navigate their new life together? Stay tuned, because the journey is far from over. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The day of the baby's arrival came sooner than anyone expected. Marina woke up in the middle of the night, her contractions strong and steady. Raphael sprang into action, helping her into the car and driving to the hospital with a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Sophia and Lucas stayed behind with a trusted neighbor, their faces filled with excitement as they waved them off. You're going to be a big sister and brother again, Marina had told them earlier that day, and their smiles had lit up the room. At the hospital, Raphael stayed by Marina's side, holding her hand and offering words of encouragement as she labored. Hours passed, each one filled with anticipation and love. Finally, as the first light of dawn filtered through the hospital window, their baby was born, a healthy baby girl with a full head of dark hair and her mother's eyes. She's perfect, Marina whispered, tears streaming down her face as she held her for the first time. Raphael's heart swelled with love as he looked at his daughter, his chest tightening with emotion. She's beautiful, Marina, just like you. They named her Emma, a name that felt soft and full of promise. As they held her in their arms, the weight of everything they had been through melted away, replaced by a sense of joy and hope for the future. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and endless cuddles. Sophia and Lucas were over the moon to meet their baby sister, their faces lighting up every time they held her. She's so tiny, Sophia exclaimed, her voice filled with wonder. She is, Raphael said, smiling as he watched her. But she's going to grow up big and strong, just like you. Sophia grinned, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I'm going to teach her everything. Marina laughed, her heart full as she watched her family together. It was everything she had ever wanted, and more. As the weeks passed, they settled into their new routine, their lives filled with love and laughter. Raphael and Marina continued to run the Bennett family table, their cafe thriving as a testament to their hard work and dedication. Sophia and Lucas grew closer every day, their bond as siblings unbreakable. And little Emma, with her bright eyes and infectious giggles, brought a new sense of joy to their lives. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Marina turned to Raphael, her expression thoughtful. "Raphael, there's something I've been wanting to say," she said, her voice soft. "What is it?" Raphael asked, his heart skipping a beat. Marina took a deep breath, her eyes filled with love and gratitude. "Thank you for everything, for loving me, for loving our children, for building this life with me. I couldn't have done it without you." Raphael's eyes filled with tears as he pulled her into a tight embrace. "Thank you, Marina, for giving me a family, for showing me what love really means. You've made my life complete." As the years passed, their family continued to grow and thrive. The Bennett family table became a legacy, a place where love and connection were served alongside every meal. Sophia, Lucas, and Emma grew up surrounded by love, their lives a testament to the strength and resilience of their parents. And through it all, Raphael and Marina stood side by side, their love a beacon of hope and a reminder that no matter how dark the past may be, the future is always filled with light. If this story has captured your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what part of Raphael and Marina's journey resonates with you the most. Stay tuned, because the best is yet to come.